Welcome back to episode 290 of the Center Ring Esports podcast presented by Alt. This is going to be the best episode ever. We have a lot of esports to get to. IEM Beijing recap. We'll talk some EU, really break down the riveting NA side of the event, though. Oh boy, let me tell you. And also, we had First Strike wrap up. So now we have our official final teams for the official First Strike event. So we'll tell you how we got there, as well as some Yikes of the Week and e-news to get to as well. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you about Alt Esports. They're the #1 esports apparel company, official partners of the Overwatch League, Call of Duty League, and yours truly, TCR, and welcoming to the Alt family, Sentinels. So they have been finally released. We've known that this has been coming in behind the scenes. It's been very hard not to tell anyone of this top secret industry news that could change the face of esports as we know it. But Sentinels has officially teamed up with Alt. They just dropped their core collection. And might I say, it will raise your sex appeal 100, 150% instantly. They have sweatpants, joggers, as they call them. Gravity shorts, which is sweatpants shorts, as I would like to call them. Looks incredibly comfy, incredibly reasonably priced. Look at this, a t-shirt for $20. In esports? What? A $20 t-shirt? This isn't just any brand, though. This is Alt, so you know it's well worth it, well worth the money. Go to altesports.com and let them know TCR sent you.
Hi, my name's Drone. I play Valorant for TSM, and you're listening to the Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of the Center Ring, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, presented by Alt. Episode 290 coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date is 11/22/2020 and the time is 9:21 p.m. Central Standard Time. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. Has our link to Discord and everything there as well. Our website, which is now officially back up and running, tcr.gg, new and improved, has a nice, lovely blog section, which will periodically have new entries and everything there, as we just feel like maybe we wanted to talk about something that we didn't get to say on the show or something like that. You have it now there, tcr.gg. Check it out. Also has a nice little nifty contact section. So if ever you need to get in touch with us, have some news you want to get at, maybe you want to send us free merch. We love free merch. You can do that there. tcr.gg. My name is Tim. I'll be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
If there weren't already enough ways to get a hold of us via Discord, Twitter DM, email, this is just one more way for you to get a hold of us. What's up, dude? Happy Sunday night.
No promises, though, that we get to any of them at a reasonable rate.
No.
Your best chance is to message us on all of them. And then we'll be like, oh shit, okay, now we really need to respond to this person. We see your messages. It's just, I want to give you, the listener, my undivided attention. That's what it is. I don't want to just throw you a message and then go about my merry way. I want to give you my undivided attention and my thought-provoking response.
And sometimes that could take hours.
Days, sometimes weeks even. If you don't hear from us, don't feel like you're bugging us. Oh, just poke us. There will be no like, oh my God, this guy is so annoying, just leave us alone. We will tell you if you're being annoying. Trust me. So
Tim, I was looking through our show notes here. I just noticed we're not talking Shadowlands preview today, or that's not happening.
if you
It's not
want to sneak it
esports
in,
enough.
if you want to sneak it in, you can. I won't deny you that. You know me though. I don't do a whole lot of. You are my pre-patch study up. Like
Well,
when we log on
could make
tomorrow,
it esports. We could talk about Method being back. You know,
yeah,
after
we can
everything
make it
they've been
happen.
through.
We can definitely make it happen. We can definitely squeeze in some WoW esports. I have nothing against that. It's just as far as the expansion coming out, it will be 5 minutes before logging on tomorrow when I'm texting you. So what faction am I supposed to pick?
What are we doing?
Who's
No,
the
you know,
best
we'll throw
person?
some Shadowlands updates in E News for y'all.
Yes. So that being said, if any of you are hopping on back onto the World of Warcraft grind, as I think 99% of the player base does with every new expansion, hit us up. We are on the Horde side. No idea what server, but I don't know if that
Zool, but that doesn't really
I was
matter.
gonna say, don't know if that necessarily matters anymore. So hit us up and we'll be on. We kind of have a crew where really at any given moment we should be able to rock through some things. So if you're a healer, especially hit us up. We have tanks. It's the healing role that
Nobody wants to commit.
no. So the only friend that I ever know that always was a healer was Brett, and for whatever reason, he's also the only person in the world that doesn't like WoW. So there's that. Yeah, so Shadowlands, we'll definitely be on that. For sure. I'm looking forward to a new game. Call of Duty did not scratch that itch, obviously, with both of us returning it. I've been waiting for Cyberpunk, but I felt like I've hit peak hype for that game so long ago that it's almost dying off again. Shadowlands, though, it's like I'm ready for it. I'm ready to put in the work, the effort. We have all cleared it with our wives. Our group of friends have all cleared it. Tomorrow we get to play uninterrupted.
It's gonna be beautiful. I'm very excited. You're right though. Just a new game, just as I mean, a new expansion is always very exciting, at least in the MMO community. But you know, just so many casual WoW fans that I think it appeals to a bunch of people. So I'm pretty stoked for this one. You know, it's funny you mentioned Cyberpunk. I was thinking in my head this whole time this would be a day one purchase for me. But like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna buy it day one. I'm gonna get it and I'm gonna play it.
Back a little bit.
Yeah, like I feel like now they've pushed it back too close to Shadowlands coming out, and I know there is no way I'm just gonna be like, I'm gonna take a week off of Shadowlands to play through this. Like I want to be able to enjoy that, so I think I got to wait for myself to get bored of WoW, and then make the transition to
you
Cyberpunk.
know that's going to happen. Like
yeah,
eventually,
it's like the question is it like 3 months or is it closer to 6 months out?
right?
Like WoW, I can get 3 months in and a new expansion pretty easily, just trying to get to the highest level mythic I can and all that. But after that, it's like, okay, are they going to do a good job of releasing content, or am I moving on to something else and coming back at the end?
Right, because we know for a fact, like eventually you will get bored of WoW. That's just how it works. That's the arc of WoW. Is you're hyped, you grind it, you get bored, and then you come back and you dabble in it here and there, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I agree. Cyberpunk was going to be a day one purchase. Actually, I wasn't even planning on doing it, and then I got hyped. But then it's also like I haven't gotten my new PC yet, and I don't want to play that game on my bitch ass 1080p 24-inch monitor.
Like that's a great reason to wait.
I don't want to,
like, you want to experience that in all of its glory, and so
like like I don't want to try. I don't want to go to a steak restaurant that's like ranting, raving reviews, and they're like, "Hey, all we have though are like plastic silverware. Is that okay?" It's like, I'll come back. I'll come back when it's the way it should be, and that's not on a 1080p monitor. That's not the way I want to do it. So,
hey, I think it's a good reason to wait.
That's my struggle.
I would wait for the new rig for that game.
That is definitely my
Especially when you're
struggle.
trying to get immersed, like you want to feel like you're
Immersion.
in it and just enjoy it in that way. So
The immersion. So there's our plot for what we're playing. Bottom line is, if you're getting into Shadowlands this week, hit us up on Discord, and we will definitely be running quests and dungeons and however far we get into that. So let's get into the show, though. Let's get into some yikes of the week, as we have some to get to. Overall, though, pretty slow week. I think we are. Let me say this too, just some show news. No show on Wednesday. Thursday is obviously Thanksgiving here in the States. So typically this is our slow time of the year. It's esports' slow time of the year. You're not missing anything anyways. So we're taking that off. We'll be back next week and everything there like normal. Also, my 4-year anniversary with my wife. So there's a little fun fact.
big deal. A little big deal right there.
A little fun fact for you. So that being said, I feel like we have turned the corner, and it is just that slow part of the year with esports because not a whole lot is happening. Like from a yikes of the week, from an e-news standpoint, it's just
Everyone's taking it easy. Nobody wants to go into the holidays with the yikes over their head, so everyone's pulling the reins back a little bit. It's funny. It just made me think of another yikes as we're talking about this that I forgot to pull. And now I'm thinking if I should do that one instead.
do it. Just do both.
Should I just do both?
Just do both.
It's not like huge, but it'd be funny. It's funny.
That's it. Did it make
Okay.
you go yikes?
It did make me go yikes.
Well, then it's a yikes of the week.
Watching the clip made me go yikes. Now I'll have to explain the backstory. We'll see how good I do. Okay, so then I'm going to start us off with the first one here.
All right.
I'm going to throw this one out. This is the new one. Tim does not even know about this. So
No,
this is
I'm
new for
learning this
everyone.
at the same time our listeners are.
So Zoms from Sentinels was on stream the other day, and he was talking about I buy power. That cannot get out of people's mouths. Okay, like I buy power. If you don't know, look it up. It's everywhere. He goes into the situation with IBP, and then he accuses Jack Entienne, the owner of Cloud9, and Richard Lewis of plotting the I buy power throw, like plotting the story and making it believable, and then also paid Shazam off to give a statement saying that he knew all of this was true because Shazam was on Cloud9 at the time that all of this ended up going down. And he's a pro player. Like, okay, I'm okay with people coming out of left field with crazy theories. You see that shit all the time.
Right.
But for
Or
a
if
pro
they're
player
like-
to come out,
If he was like, you know what, the I Buy Power boys, I still don't think they should be allowed to play. That's fine. Right? If you're
yeah,
it's fine.
that's a hot take. That's fine. This was like a blatant lie. This is like going into election rigged kind of lies here. Okay, like we're really, really stretching. He did come out and make an apology, but it makes me wonder what was going through his mind. And no, that wasn't a beep on the show. That was a
That's
personal mute.
professional broadcasting.
Professional mute. Yeah. So like I don't
Family
understand
show.
what he was thinking to make him say that, because again, that was like you're throwing names into it, not even like, hey, yeah, there was some setup behind the scenes. Like you're straight up calling out the owner of C9. You're calling out Hall of Famer Richard Lewis. You're calling out Shazam for taking money for spinning a story, and so all of that stuff is just ridiculous. So that did give me a personal yikes when I watched the clip, and then I saw his apology. Great, he apologized. He says they're unfounded claims. Just makes me think, what the hell's going through your head?
Like, of course they're unfounded claims. Like, Psalms is going to be the guy to break the news that the I Buy Power throwing was all a setup staged by the owner of Cloud9 and Richard Lewis? No, you're right, Psalms. You know the info. You were in on it the whole time. These are, like, of course these are bro, you didn't have to tell us these were unfound claims. Like, we knew.
We knew right when we heard it come out. Like I said, I saw he said it so casually on stream. She was like, hey, I have a leak for you guys, and just kind of threw it out there. And I was like, what the hell is this? I retweeted it. I was like, no, not at all. Like, not at all.
I wish we could do something like that. Boost our numbers up a little bit, right?
Get some impressions, baby.
Yeah, just say something ridiculous, and I'll clip it, and we'll put it on Twitter. And then only in the show, though, you can say you were just kidding. but I won't put that on Twitter. So everyone would be like, "Oh my god, I can't believe he said this." But then it's
Like optics moving to LA and LA Thieves is not going to be possible. Like something, I don't know.
something
Or
ridiculous
like
like that.
Doc,
Make a
I don't
ridiculous
know.
claim like that.
Doc's a child, like a pedophile.
Yeah.
You know,
Say
just
something
something small.
something small like that. Something people will believe, and then we can backtrack. That's how people do it. Yeah, that was a good yikes. Double up. Go with one more yikes, because my yikes will lead us into first strike.
This was another easy one. So Tim and I talked about it a few weeks ago. United dropping out of Rainbow Six, and you know that sucks. You hate to see it because we prop up Rainbow Six quite a bit on the show. Not in terms of coverage, but we're always there to like give them our good graces and say that it's going in the way we feel they should be trending. Right? It's constantly up. This last year's been a little rough for Rainbow, right? The community's been upset with how the state of the game is, where we saw Team Reciprocity drop out, not too long ago, and they sold their spot to Oxygen. We saw E United drop out. The good thing is when somebody drops out, well, there's somebody there to fill those shoes, right, Tim? Like there's somebody there that's just in the waiting. In this case, they didn't have to have relegation matches and all that to figure it out. It was Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm got moved up into Pro League. Well, they just announced that they are now dropping out of Rainbow Six altogether, looking to they're giving an extension on finding a group to buy their license, another org to buy their license from them to keep that pro spot going. But they have officially dropped their full roster.
Yeah, it's weird. I've heard like a lot of rumbling behind the scenes with Rainbow that like people are getting tired of Ubisoft, the way they're running their league. Obviously, we talked about it with E United.
They're holding them hostage.
Yeah.
Get it? Get it?
It was like
joke from last week. No.
It was like when the whole E United debacle, and it's like how people are saying this, and then like how they're patching the game and balancing it and bugs and things like that. I don't know if maybe we've just hit that point now with Siege where the honeymoon, like it's almost like before it was what's the redheaded stepchild? Can we say that now in 2020? Is that still appropriate? Where it was
we can say it on this show.
Okay. They were the redheaded stepchild of esports, where it was like you knew they were there, right? But if they did anything, you'd appreciate it and you ruffle their hair and said, "Hey, good job, kiddo. Now go back to being tier 2." Like, enjoy your time at tier 1 when you're in your finals, and then go back to tier 2 esports. I feel like maybe that phase is over, and people are like, okay, we're moving on. So,
the thing with games like that is they're trying to build on longevity within the game. That's really tough to do. You're constantly battling a new Call of Duty every year, right? And all it takes is one of them to take off for your casual player base to maybe shift a little bit on the console side, maybe not so much on the PC side. But you're constantly competing with, there's always kind of a new FPS game, like Valorant on the PC side now has grown, and a lot of talent is going there. And so when you're trying to build a game on a cycle where we're going to keep building up on this one game, it's just proven that is very difficult to do. And so I don't think this is so much Rainbow Six lacking in areas, just more so like it's just time kind of killing it a little bit. Like it's just going to naturally get less popular. There's very few that can do what League of Legends is doing, what Counter-Strike is doing. It's easy to name them because they're one of a few. So I think Rainbow's had a good run. I think they'll still continue to be okay. It's just maybe it's no longer like going to be on that incline that we've seen unless they do something major.
It also sucks a lot with Rainbow when like Counter-Strike and all these bigger games can survive COVID with your teams being split up, right? Smaller games like Rainbow might not be able to keep that momentum when your bigger EU orgs are still in EU. Your NA side is not as strong, or they might not have as reputable of orgs with bigger names. So that's where I think also it's like we're hitting that point now where people are like, okay, it's like where are we at with Rainbow? So
And I think it's important to mention that Tempo saying they're releasing the team due to the pandemic causing financial like hardship and all that on them, and so that's their reasoning for leaving, and that sucks. If that's the case and that's what they're dealing with, like you hate to see it. It's just another exit, and this exit coming in such a way where it was like, man, you just took that spot like last week.
Right.
Like last week you just gained that pro league spot, so that sucks. I'm sure that was a hard decision for them too. You get a pro league spot and have to walk away from it immediately.
Well, my yikes of the week was a perfect segue into First Strike, specifically NA side. So I don't know if you were watching this. I was watching it live. And to the point where I was so confused, I messaged our good friend Drone from TSM, as you heard in the liner, introing the show today, saying, is this normal? Like, what do you guys do here? So this happened during the Immortals T1 matchup, where one of the players shot up on Immortals, had to leave because of an emergency. He had to get rushed to the hospital for whatever reason. I don't know if it's ever came out.
Like the third player or something recently that's had some sort of medical emergency, because we just saw it with Poach recently too.
Yeah. So obviously it's, 5v5. He's like, yo, emergency, gotta go. And then there was a slight pause in the action, obviously. But then they come back and he's sitting in spawn still. So he's AFK in spawn, 5v4 on Haven, which, Anuj, you and I know from experience all too well, being down a man on Haven is like the worst scenario possible. It's a 3 bomb site map, A, B, and C. When you are down a man on Haven, you are pretty much only able to do retakes at that point if you're on defense. Like, you have just given up on one site and just committed to doing retakes. Props to Immortals. There's really a 2 yikes in one here, because they ended up defeating T1 on that map at least. T1 ended up winning the match, but still. Yikes.
That's
enough.
insane to think that they were able to win that map. I mean, any map, honestly, at the pro level, being down a man, it's freaking incredible for them to have that under their belt. Even though they lost the series, like, man, that's absolutely huge to be able to do that.
Where my real yikes comes into here, though, and and maybe I'm overblowing this, because realistically, I would hope this is like a one-off situation when it's not a technical issue. The player isn't, like, he is able to be in the server. If it was a technical issue, he would have dropped from the server and it would have been entirely different. But here, even though it was hospital and health related, it was still voluntarily disconnecting. But the fact that he had to sit in spawn, and then T1 was able to harvest alt orbs off this poor man's corpse, where in real life he's being rushed to the hospital. Like, I was just like, this seems a little messed up.
Would it be better if he just said he disconnected?
And that's what I was. So I asked Drone that. I was like, wouldn't it make sense just to disconnect, and then that way, so like in a normal Valorant match, if someone disconnects from your team, they're out, and you get an orb in spawn in replace of them for your alt, and then money bonus. Do you get more money? So you get some bonuses. Now I understand on a pro match, and we can just naturally talk First Strike now if you want. Yikes of the week, you get it. I get in a pro match if you're like, look, things have to be a little different here, okay? We can't give that type of advantage because, look, these are supposed to be professionals, and we just have to do it. But at the same time, then, it's almost like if he's backing out, is it fair that T1 doesn't have a chance then to get an extra orb while Immortals does? I don't know the right answer. I'm just saying, is watching that match, it felt like that wasn't the right way to do it.
Yeah, that's an extremely
it's so one-off.
Extremely odd way to handle it, because I could think of a couple different ways that would make more sense, right? The most obvious is he's just out of the game. There's an orb there. There's no money bonus available, but that orb could be available for their team to grab, and that's kind of that, right? Like, it sucks that he had a medical emergency, but it kind of sucks to suck in that situation. What are you supposed to do in the middle of a tournament, right? And so the way that they did it, though, odd. I mean, just it doesn't make sense. Like the fact that they won is such it's not going to generate maybe the level of saltiness because they did win, and it's hard to like say anything then because it's like, okay, well, what
Right.
does it matter? But you would hope for future, like if this were to ever happen again in another match and an important match, like that's an important match that's taking place there, you would hope that it's handled differently. And so, look, T1 was able to pull it out and looked good in the tournament. That was a really bad loss for them. In fact, I think another yikes could almost be for Immortals is Shanks coming in off the bench. And by the way, like this is the streamer I was talking about when I was watching him. Just like blew my mind. I was like, either this guy's really high right now or just like incredibly annoying most of the time, but maybe a little bit of both. But this dude comes in and frags out. Like he has found his way onto another roster. It's not going to be Immortals roster, but I mean, he came in and that last map, they lost 15-13 to get bumped out by T1.
Yeah.
And he was like 7 or 8 kills ahead of the next guy. And it was crazy. He just came in and performed so well for him.
The feels good out of all of this UMG first straight close qualifiers that took place over the weekend is the fact that Immortals was able to qualify for the main event. Because truly, after you have a player drop in the middle of a map going down a man on Haven, of all maps, I don't care if people are like, well, Immortals had the lead going in before he dropped. Bro, it is a 4v5 on a map where your defense, and there's 3 bomb sites. I don't
And
care.
it's a pro level. Like it's different than us playing in a pug and somebody dropping and us winning.
Yeah.
It's like it's different. They're just so good,
Which has
so
happened.
calculated. So
maybe we are pro because we have one down a man. Actually dominated. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. We dominated a game where a guy dropped on our team. So maybe we are pro.
Definitely not because the other team didn't suck.
Definitely not because of that. Though, and I'm just going to say this, on the side business of TCR, Anuj and I are officially starting a pro consulting business for Icebox. I know a lot of the pros players hate it for Valorant, but we are gods at the map. So
we do have that map down. It's our best map.
Like I have zero worries going into the map that we aren't going to roll people. So, if you really want to learn a Valorant pro from a former semi-pro in Vegas 1 and 2, hit me up. No, but it is a feel-good story. The fact that Immortals was able to move on and come back to qualify for the main event, I think that is good because it's almost not to say T1 doesn't deserve to be there. Obviously, if you end up qualifying and you take advantage of any situation thrown at you, you should do it. But Immortals really should have won that T1 match.
Yeah, and look, T1 at the end of the day deserved to make it through also, having to beat Cloud9 in the quarterfinals. Like I thought they ended up with a really tough first round matchup comparative to what was out there, right? I thought that was by far the toughest matchup they could have got because Cloud9 disappointed by qualifying as a lower seed in their bracket, right? They took the second qualifier spot. So it put T1 as one of the top seeds, having to play Cloud9 in the quarters to see who bumps through. And I think it's kind of impressive to see who did make it through here. Maybe we just run through some of this right here. But we did have T1 and Cloud9 play in an elimination or advanced map. T1 was able to pull that out 2-0. So that does drop Cloud9 out of first strike, which feels really odd, right? Like it feels weird because Cloud9 has been so good. I mean, so good for the most part of, not only the first strike series, but the ignition series. Like Cloud9 had played really, really well with tens and these guys. Like it's unfortunate to see them out at that point.
We actually, I talked about this in Discord with some listeners where like if you were having to do power rankings right now for Valorant, specifically NA side, I don't know where you put Cloud9 because they really live and die by how Tens decides to I mean, he really has to Like the joke is it's tens and friends, but it really almost seems like it has to be that way for them to even stand a chance. Like right now, they're top 4 for North America. I don't know if they might be at any given moment, sure, but they've also, I forget what event it was a little bit ago, but they blew that as well. So
Yeah, no, NA rankings would be really weird because I think NA, first of all, personal take here. We'll see if this is true when Land comes back. Like NA seems significantly stronger to me,
100%.
deeper to me than EU does.
Does
you
EU
know?
have a Valorant side? Do they play
It's like
Valorant
there's
in
like
EU?
3 teams on EU side that could probably, obviously, they could compete or beat any of the NA teams, right? But that's really it. I think on the NA side, it's just really, really deep in talent, which is a flip flop for Counter Strike, which is really weird. But even T1, Tim, I wouldn't know where to rank T1
No.
right now. Like I would
I
have
want
no
to
idea
say-
where to put them.
I want to say T1 sucks so bad because even going into this event, I was like, T1 sucks. Like, I'm not into how they built out the roster. I'm not into this, the iBuy Power Boys getting back together and hey guys, remember when we were good 6 years ago? I didn't jump on that hype train. And then the whole losing to Immortals down a man, you barely beat them with their bench player, but then you come back and you beat Cloud9. Like my brain is a pretzel trying to power rank the NA side for Valorant.
See, I feel very different about T1 than you do. Like, I'm really rooting for them to do well. I wouldn't say I'm not going out and saying like they're my favorite team in the league, but I think they have one of the best feel-good stories. So I am
stories,
really
but feel goods don't get you high on the power rankings.
no, but I think beating Cloud9 bumps you up, and it's just interesting to see where I would start ranking these people because they're all over the place. T1 is all over the place. Like, I just don't know. You kick 2 players from your team, and those 2 players elevate the next team they go to the number 1 team in the power rankings probably right now in Envy. So it's like really weird that I just don't know what we have with this roster. But the good news is we're going to find out because they do advance through. They make it to the First Strike finals coming up, along with FaZe Clan. And, FaZe Clan and Gen G go head to head. Gen G has been playing, I thought, pretty well overall. And here we have FaZe Clan, who's, to me, I don't know what we're really getting from them. Like, they beat Anbox 2-0, but Anbox had been playing bad. Then they go play TSM, and TSM doesn't really show, much trouble with them in either of their matches. They get swept 2-0. And then here they are, advancing through. They make top 4, and obviously get to play again TSM in the finals where they got it handed to them as well. But I just don't know what to make of the FaZe Clan roster either. I mean, there's so many teams in NA where I am telling myself this of how the hell do I know where any of them are at? Does this final, tournament for First Strike, is this going to let us know who the true number 1 is? I think whoever wins this will probably take that slot, but
you would hope so because like
no
you said,
confidence
like,
that
like we were just saying. So it's like you have T1, who we're saying is under Cloud9, but then they beat Cloud9. But then FaZe Clan, who I would definitely not necessarily put over T1, beats T1. So nothing is making sense, and it's not because like one team is just playing bad. It's just like because even like TSM going into these qualifiers have been looking a little rough, right? We even talked about it where TSM for the longest time it was 1 and 2 with them and Sentinels, right? Like TSM Sentinels, which is the best team, not just for NA but in the world for Valorant. TSM dropped off a little bit. Sentinels still look strong, but I am a little relieved to see that we did see TSM take this. I thought it was very important going into it that TSM took this to kind of remain that, kind of that big dick vibe going into it, saying, yes, we still got it. It wasn't just a fluke of, hey, you guys were like the first org to sign a Valorant roster, and that's why you looked so good because no real org was in it yet. The fact that they were able to win and not just win, but beat FaZe Clan 3-1, I think it's a very confident boosting win for TSM.
I agree, and like it was just crucial for them to advance, right? We just needed to see them in the finals here, like make it to the final round. And I don't feel too disappointed with who we have. Like obviously I don't think Renegades really belongs in the final grouping of 8, but they earned their spot, so I shouldn't say they don't belong. It's just they feel out of place with what was left on the table. Everybody else really, looks like they need to be there. Like I said, there are a couple of exceptions. Like again, not having Cloud9 there, not having Gen G there, you know, feels bad. That's what it comes down to. Honestly, hell, even Moon Raccoons, who are ranked in the top 10 right now, like without First Strike, this is a team that goes unnoticed, right? And they might make a good showing at a tournament, but then it's easy to forget about them. This is how you get yourself to the big leagues. Like for anybody that's wondering, it's coming in and performing, even though they don't advance. This is a team that surprised a lot of people, except for the people that have been watching Valorant prior to First Strike, because they had looked good previously and they carried it all the way out to, you talk about matchups. I think they had a chance really against anybody except for TSM going into the quarterfinals.
I think, well, first off, let's tease to our next episode, because we will have Moon Raccoon's coach. Their coach, Raptors, will join us for the next episode. So look forward to that. Make sure to follow us on Twitter to get when we have him on the show.
I should also preface that's not why I'm hyping them up. Not because he is coming on the show. We're getting him on the show because we've been hyping them up.
Exactly. And we've been saying it long before even this last weekend. Going into it, we told our listeners, you got to keep an eye on Moon Raccoons because they have been performing exceptionally well against what we would consider top teams. And now we see them in the top 10, so it obviously makes sense. The thing, though, with First Strike, and I know some people didn't like the format going into it, saying like, it's a little ridiculous to have this many people and single eliminations and things like this. I love it. If not for this reason alone, like, Riot seriously needs to have I don't know if you call it First Strike, maybe, but you need to have a tournament of this format, of this caliber, I think once a year. Like, yeah. Because how do you keep the talent constantly churning with new rookie and unknown names? You have it in Counter-Strike where you have it like FPL and S ranks and things like that, and people will work their way up, and that's how you got Stewie, that's how you got Zywoo and things like that. You will get players that way, but you won't get rosters. You won't get teams that way. This is like, how many players, how many rosters have we seen outperform because of this format, because they had a chance just to say, guys, let's get together, let's go and do this tournament and see what little chaos we can create with the pro world. So now Moon Raccoons is an orgless team finding themselves in top 10 NA. Like, they are 9th in the world with the rankings I'm looking at, which is VLR. I don't know if are they the same on Spike?
It's all close enough.
Okay.
They're a top 10 team in everybody's mind.
Top 10 team, okay. Depending on what rankings you're looking at, somewhere in there, top 10 for sure. Orgless, because of not one tournament, but it's been able to project them. I think that is fascinating. I think it's amazing for the scene as far as Valorant and esports. I think it's definitely something Riot needs to do every single year, is an event like this where it doesn't matter if you are back-to-back world champions going in, you could get eliminated first round and then you're done. Like, there is no catering to like, oh, well, these are invited teams, so you're going to get to go up to the top bracket who skips the first 5 rounds, and then you can do double No. It is balls to the wall, get to the finish line, and I love it.
I do love the idea of the format. I don't really love the format necessarily. Like, I think it could be tweaked to be a little easier to follow. I also think they've done a really bad job of broadcasting this event. Like, there's so many matches that are I know there's just so many games, but at least there's a lot of games that have appeal to a general audience that they have not found a way to like broadcast in one way.
Well,
or,
there's
you
been
know,
a lot of times where I had no idea the match was going on, and then like I see on Twitter or something, I'm like, oh my god, like where is this
I'm
going on?
constantly going to VLR's website to see which one has the broadcast sign under
Yeah.
it. And sometimes you're just watching one POV. But I do love the madness of that many teams being involved. You can say who's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, whatever, but they all have an equal chance going into it. Imagine if Counter-Strike did something like this. Like, look, that could help keep a scene a little bit more alive than it feels at the moment, right? Like draw some interest from younger teams knowing they have a chance to compete against the best. And so that's got to be a really cool feeling for a lot of these guys. But yeah, Moon Raccoons has put themselves in position now with the way they performed in First Strike and some of the events prior, to really pick and choose the org that they want to go to from what's remaining, right? Like from the orgs that are still out there that want to buy in. This is going to be a hot roster for a lot of teams, and so I would expect them to get picked up real soon. Honestly,
I do agree with Kai in the chat, though. I will miss the name. I almost wish. Like, can we keep Moon Raccoons? Can it just be like Moon Raccoons owned by E United or something? Whoever's picking them up, I don't even know. Does E United have a Valorant roster? That's the other thing is there's a lot of big orgs that have rosters, so I wonder.
That's what I'm saying. From who's left, it'll be interesting to see. But there's still plenty of. I mean, teams even think like Fnatic. They don't have to be EU, right? Just like Liquid didn't have to be NA in that sense.
Yeah,
so
I guess
there's
you're right.
a lot of big teams out there that
maybe Cloud9 will pick them up as their fourth roster.
Cloud9 Red.
Yeah, Cloud9 Red. We'll have 4 rosters going on. Cloud9 will unanimously win every event just because they'll have half the teams in them. So, no, again, they lost 2-0 to TSM, the eventual winner, but if you're Moon Raccoons, I think you are over the moon right now with how you feel. So we'll talk to Raptors, their coach, for next episode and actually get exactly what is going on through their mind. So, super impressive by them.
And then next week we'll jump into a little bit more of a main event preview. And discuss the teams that are kind of lined up there. We do have the final 8 in play and brackets set, but we'll kind of dive into that a little bit more next time.
Yeah, so the main event for NA anyways is December 3rd through the 6th. So we are taking next episode off. So our next episode will be the 29th, which will line up perfectly with previewing the event and everything there for you. So that's some NA side. On EU, well, before I move on, any other NA drama that you wanted to discuss?
I mean, I like I said, I think we got the teams for the most part that we wanted in there. So I'm pretty stoked for how this worked out, and we're set up for a freaking amazing show coming up here. Like this is going to be a fun finals event, and we'll see which team prevails.
Can I go on a mini rant here?
Mm-hmm.
And I want Riot to listen. Riot, do not skip forward at this part of the podcast because I know you're listening. Split is the worst map. And I know I say it every time we talk Valorant, but this is what I'm worried about, Anuj. This is what I'm worried that Valorant or that Riot is doing is they pull the numbers, they pull the stats, and they go, man, Split is so great competitive because it's split like 50-50 down the middle. Like rounds 1, 50-50. But what they need to look at is rounds 1 on defense. I forget what match it was, but we saw it yet again where it was like, maybe it's exciting to see those swings, but it's almost just a snooze.
It's not a fun map to just watch in general.
Right.
It's very
it's difficult. You can't just look at the numbers.
It's difficult, and everything is like very predictable that you're doing because the transitions from one site to the other gruesomely long, and it's just not a
last time I'm talking about it.
Fun map to watch. Unfortunately, Tim, get ready to see it constantly, especially in BO5s. Like it's going to be part of the pool.
I know. It's the last time I'm going to bring it up. I don't like Split. It's very boring to watch, even worse to play. But you know,
last time you bring it up until we see TSM and Sentinels in the finals, and that's map 5.
And then it really is brutal. The team on offense, whoever's starting out on attack on that would just be like, welp, it was a good run, guys. We had a good run. So, so there's that. So NA is done. EU is also done. We have the top 8 there. Did you watch any of the EU side?
We watched a little bit of Prodigy because like we already had the 4 teams locked, so we were fighting for these last 4 slots here. I think the only game of note was Prodigy versus who did they play, Tim? French name. Le Institute is who they played. And it was cool because that was 2 legendary IGLs going head to head from Counter-Strike, and that would be for Prodigy Happy, from Le Institute, that would be Existence. And so, 2 guys that have just been in the scene for a long time, and it was cool to see them facing off. That was a decider matchup. And Happy went ballistic on a set to push them through in a 2-1 victory there. But that was probably the most noteworthy game in the playoffs leading up to it. I'll be honest with you, man. There are Guild getting eliminated. Unfortunately, 13-11 to Noel Plensky or something like that. That sucked to see that because I think Guild was the best remaining team in the round of 16. Ninjas also got eliminated. They were consistently playing well, although not great. Like they didn't win anything because G2 has won everything. But they've been one of the better teams. So really in a smaller pool of elite teams, you now have Ninja taken out of the mix, and you now have Guild taken out of the mix. And again, for those of you that don't remember, Guild was Team Bonk. They had been playing really well, prior to
Also,
making
the team
move.
that had to forfeit their match because they used a bug for 1 round against G2.
Yeah, and again, that was a map that they won, and that was unfortunate for them. They had to give it up. So, we do have a little bit more of a lackluster main event in my mind for the EU side. Again, it's G2, Team Liquid, Fun plus Phoenix, and those are your top 3. I think Prodigy is going to be one that a lot of CS fans maybe cling on to just to see Happy and company and see how they do. But outside of that, like I don't think there'll be like a lot of drama around this side. Like G2 is kind of just proven time and time again, 8 times I think to be exact, that they are the best team in EU right now. And until they show otherwise, like no one's picking against them. I think they're the obvious favorite going into the first Strike finals, and it's going to be up to Liquid or Fun Plus to dethrone them. I don't know if either of them really have the firepower to do so, but like anytime you got Scream involved, and you have Angel talking as much trash as he's been talking on Fun plus Phoenix, Happy, there's going to be names and teams to watch. It's just that all comes down to who's going to give G2 the biggest fight.
Yep. I'll take your word for it. When does EU start? Literally,
they're also 3rd through the 6th.
Okay, so we'll have enough action there.
You will have full days of Valorant with EU kicking off in the morning, and a more like mid to late evening. So we will have a lot of Valorant going on for those 3 days.
And like I said, for people who are still like naysayers and in competitive Valorant, if you're a fan of Counter-Strike, I don't see why, unless you're just like a Counter-Strike blowhard, why you would not be watching this. First off, you're seeing names that you saw all throughout watching Counter-Strike, so that's always exciting. But the competition is right up there. I'm still, I mean, I know we've talked enough about it on the show to where our listeners know, but I'm thoroughly enjoying First Strike.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a good event. Like I said, hard to follow, but it's been a good event.
Yes.
And now that we're here at the finish line, like I if you've been watching any of it, you're intrigued by what's about to come up.
That's why you just need to listen to the #1 esports podcast, The Center Ring, because we will figure out the puzzle pieces for you as far as how the events and everything are played out. So there's that for you. Moving over to Counter-Strike, though, we did have IEM Masters, or I guess IEM, not Masters, but IEM, be redundant. Beijing wrap up, both for NA and EU. We'll talk NA first, because it will be the shortest discussion that we've ever had on this show. So, in NA, You had in the grand finals, yep, in the grand finals, you heard that correct, Chaos Esports Club versus Triumph.
Ooh.
Riveting stuff.
Did that pull in more than 10,000 viewers? I have to know.
Man, well, let me see if I can't find that out for you as we're discussing this. Now,
I mean, this is a devastating blow for NA because, again, look at who was in the semifinals here. You had Liquid versus Triumph. You had Chaos versus Evil Geniuses. Any betting man, anybody that watches Counter-Strike would tell you, hey, we're lined up for a good finals here. We're going to have the two best NA teams going head-to-head, and both of them choke out. Like, both of them ended up tapping out 2-1. With Chaos advancing. And mind you, Tim, Chaos is on the verge of potentially dropping their CSGO team. For financial reasons, whatever reasons, they're on the verge of doing that. And so it's disheartening to see the state that NACS is in. First of all, looking at the group plays, Tim, you had Liquid, Chaos, Rugrats, throwback to us 90s, 80s kids, and then the New England Whalers. Out of that group, 2 out of the 4 teams are dropping their CSGO rosters. That's Chaos and the Whalers. Whalers have also announced that they are going to be not re-signing their team due to financial concerns. And then on
really,
Group
the
B,
Whalers have announced that.
Yeah, Whalers just announced that, and then Chaos is rumored, but looks like it's going to be happening. So, yeah, the Whalers have announced they're dropping their roster.
Now, keep in mind, Chaos, too, is just pumping up their chest because they Logic came on as an investor with that.
Yeah, Logic and Pusha T. So that should show all of you guys it doesn't matter who's investing. It matters how much they are investing and what they're going to do with those funds. So in this case, it's disappointing to see that because that's just another NA team gone. On the Group B, you had Evil Geniuses, Triumph, Team One, and Rebirth. So again, just looking at these groups, I mean, this has got to be one of the weakest events you can imagine for a tier 1 event. I don't think of this as a tier 1 event. Like, I think of this as a MDL event, and it's an all-stars game for Liquid and EG. Like, it's theirs to lose, and both of them managed to lose it.
In what world do we live in, Anuj? In what world do we live in? You're IEM. You are a big boy. ESL tournament, right? With implications to go to the IEM Global Challenge series and everything that they're playing off, right? Where if you win these tournaments, you will then qualify for an even bigger tournament, right? By the way, just keep in mind the 2 teams from NA that's qualified in the past from New York and now Beijing, Furia and Chaos, which Chaos might not even make it to this tournament, which is later in December here in a couple weeks. Okay? But in what world do we live in where you're going to host an NA tournament and your invited teams consist of, and this is no knock on any of them, but let's be real.
It is a knock on some of them.
Chaos, any New England Whalers, Triumph, and Team One. Rugrats and Rebirth qualified, so we'll give them a pass. But you are inviting people. How many teams denied you to where you ended with Triumph and the Whalers going into your event?
Well, who else do you think they invited that could have turned them down in NA?
I mean, you at least think Cloud9 was invited? Maybe at the time they didn't have their roster figured out, so maybe not. Who knows how long ago they invite teams?
Yeah, I guess Envy could have been invited maybe if they, but I wouldn't put Envy, although Envy just qualified for playoffs for Flashpoint 2, but it's not like
at least
it's not like there's many
recognition.
options out there is what I'm saying. Like this is NACS. By the way, Rugrats have one of the cooler logos I've ever seen, so I'm going to also toot their horn a little bit for that.
I would
logo
rock that on a
they got
shirt.
there. Yeah,
I'd get a Rugrats
that's pretty
shirt.
sweet. I might have to get some of that swag. We'll see if it's $70 for a hoodie also. But
Boy, I hope it
yeah,
is.
like this is just like I don't want to really talk about NACS
It's dead.
That's sad for an esports show that toots its horn on being in love with Counter-Strike. Like, this is not what I want to. This is not what I'm watching.
We have beaten the topic of NACS. Like, it's a dead horse, just as NA is dead. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's like, look, and people can try to convince me otherwise, and some have tried, but I just don't see it. Like, first of all, I don't know how much longer this Liquid lineup lasts. They have disappointment after disappointment, and I feel like it's just a matter of time before there is a change made or somebody decides to go try something new because they also see the writing on the wall. Evil Geniuses, you kind of would like to think that roster will stick around for a while because they've at least performed even fairly consistently as of late. But Liquid are 13 in the world right now in a scene where there's only 2 really competitive NA teams, where you should be bumping up your power rankings during COVID because you're only playing against a significantly worse competition than you. Like it's really not, it shouldn't even be that close with the lineup that they have. And so, yeah, I mean, thank God for EUCS in this event. Let's put it that way, because EUCS lived up to the hype.
The finals alone delivered everything I wanted in CS. The only thing that sucks, and I was thinking about it like the entire time, is the fact that this was not a LAN. But if it was, the building would have collapsed with the amount of cheering and everything going on between Na'Vi and Vitality in the finals, because this might be one for the history books. Now, I'm going to preface this because I'm not backing off, okay? Not going to back off, and I won't lie to the listener. Because I know I saw Thorin tweet it out, like, oh, we're all the haters now for the best of 5. It still sucked. The time it took to consume the finals was still a beating and a half. Like, I still don't want that. If I could get this type of hype, but in like a condensed format, that would be ideal.
I mean, I still had to watch highlights of some of these matches.
Of course.
I didn't get to sit there and watch 5 games.
Yeah, I watched the first 2, and then I had to actually go and do something with my life, and then I came back and watched the last map live and watched highlights for the in-betweens. So yes, I still didn't sit there for 5 maps, and God bless you if you did. So
you're right, though. The roof would have been off in this place multiple times with the amount of clutches that we had and aces that we had, and you really had everything you wanted. You had the number 1 and number 2 player in the world going head to head, and that's Simple and Navira, Scream's brother. You also had Zywoo in the mix. No, I'm just kidding. It was a joke. Okay, Zywoo.
I was going to say, but you said it so convincing. I was like, wait, what does he know that I don't know?
You had Simple and Zywoo going head to head in this matchup. Simple lived up to the hype, right? Like, I mean, he was top fragging virtually, I think, every map. Maybe 1 he did not top frag, but he top fragged at least 4 out of the 5. On Dust 2, this guy, I've never seen somebody dominate a map the way Simple dominated Dust 2. He finished 37-13. Mind you, it was 11-5, 11-6, somewhere around there. They were up, and he was at like 31 kills. So he didn't finish nearly as strong as he started. I thought he was going to easily put up 40 in regulation of a game that didn't go the distance. He did slow down a little bit towards the end, but I mean, one of the best games you will see in Counter-Strike, a 2.02 rating, 121 ADR. The guy is the number 1 player in the world still, and they find a way to lose the series. That's the
beauty of it, is that you have, and even on, just to shout out HLTV's ratings here, Simple had a 2.10 rating.
For the series?
No, on Nuke alone.
Oh, okay.
On Nuke alone. Which, I mean, it's just, that's nutty. That's ridiculous. To have that type of rating is insane.
On Nuke, they really dominated
his
Vitality. Like
KD,
they had that down.
Simple's KD. I mean, Simple gets the MVP of the event. I don't know who ended up getting MVP, but Simple gets it in my book. He went 118-70 plus 48 KD with an average of 96.2 damage per round. That's insane.
It's kind of hard to, like, Zaiwu obviously puts himself in contention with the two aces there that he had on Mirage from
Yeah.
map 5. Like, you talk about some clutch aces. Those were really, really big moments, but they ended up dominating that map ultimately on Mirage, and that being part of the reason.
And that's the shame in this. So you have Na'Vi and Vitality, two teams that are notoriously known for getting second place. So something had to give here, right? One team had to keep the cliche going and get second place. Unfortunately, Simple was on that losing end. And unfortunately, the last map in Mirage, first off, Vitality did do a reverse sweep. You know, Na'Vi was up 2-0, so they had all the chances in the world to close it out. But unfortunately, the one map that everyone's going to be talking about is Mirage, is map 5. Because if you just came in on that map and that map only, you'd be like, how is this not a 3-0 sweep by Vitality? Yeah. Na'Vi looked done. They looked roasted. You said it before. Zaiwu had 2 aces in the first half of Mirage. Unreal.
That first one was a pretty devastating blow because I think that was round 1. And he was sitting there with 6 HP, and it was a 3v1 left at the end, and he was able to clutch that out, and it just kind of steamrolled from there because I think Vitality picked up the first 5 or 6 rounds at that point. And yeah, Na'Vi looked lifeless going into Mirage. I think it showed in their play ultimately. But yeah, after the first 2 maps, I thought it was a done deal the other way. Like, to me, Vitality was the team that was screwed. Like, Dust 2 was their pick. They lost Nuke, which was Navi's pick. And you know, you lose your first map pick, you lose your first opposing team's pick, and at that point, the other team's got a couple of chances there to finish off on a map that they're going to be pretty comfortable on, and they weren't able to do it. And again, it's just another disappointment for Na'Vi. I mean, I thought Electronic played good in this event. You know, Flamey, although he had a horrendous KD in the best of 5, like, you know, even he had his moments that looked really good. I thought it's just they're not able to close it out, and whether it's a mental bridge that they have to figure out how to cross, I don't know. You know, like I really don't know, because you look at Simple and you really wonder, how does a team lose with somebody that good on their team? Like, how do you consistently come up short when you have somebody that elite on your team? And there's just no simple answer for it.
And I think that's kind of where it does fall apart, though. Like, on one of the, I would have paid every penny in my bank account to be a fly on the wall on the last round of Mirage, where Simple tried to make like a hero move very early in the round and died. And so now it's a 5v4, and you're Na'Vi with the best player in the world dead. Like, the one guy that you were banking on to pull this out and clutch it for you to live another round is dead before it even started. Like, the feeling, I mean, even like as a viewer, you heard it in Machine and Sponge's, even though he doesn't go by that. What's his normal name?
The Sponge.
Okay. He doesn't go by Sponge, though. Chad?
Oh, yeah, Chad Burchill.
Sorry. I'm so OG, I call him Sponge. You know, we're best friends. You could even hear it in their voice, though, while they were casting the game. Like, it was just, what do you do? Like, you've lost Simple. If you lost your MVP on the last round, it was very just a defeating feeling.
Yeah, I know. It is. And he's felt it too many times. And I don't know what they're going to do to change it. I think for Vitality's side, a lot of positives, right? You overcome a 2-0 deficit, so you find the grit and the heart to be able to pull that through. You're playing with the 6-man roster, and guess what? Your 6th man had the highest rating out of anybody on the team. Again, that's Navira, and he's pushing himself into the starting lineup. You know, even on Dust 2, where they struggled mightily against Navi, they throw him in some tough positions, solo holding B, and he's managing to top frag by quite a bit. I know they lose the map, that's disappointing, but he comes back out on Inferno, a map that they win, and once again, you know, is top frag on the team. And so he's doing this consistently. They're being very calculated in the approach with how they substitute him in and on the maps that they do it. But this has been so far, to me, the best use of a 6th man. And I'm not counting the tournament win where Astralis won with S-Tag. Those situations are different because people are stepping away from a team for somebody to be substituted in. Somebody's injured, somebody needs time off, whatever, self-reflection, all the stuff that's going on over there. This is a proper team of 6 players that they are subbing in and out in mid-series based on map pool. And I love the way they're doing it. I know it's unusual and it's probably hated by a lot of purists, but this may be his opportunity to work himself into a starting lineup that he wouldn't have had that chance otherwise if it was like a hard 5-man lock. And so this may be another way to exercise talent into the scene. And it's really, really paying off for Vitality. Like, he's been tremendous in their last couple of series that he's played in.
And maybe it just stays the way it is too, right? I feel like everyone always has this assumption where if your 6-man outperforms someone on the starting lineup, they're instantly going to get bought out. Like, Vitality's only purpose to have him on the roster is to make him look good and then turn him in for profit. I don't think that, right? Like you said, the way they're using him is completely different than the way Astralis used their bench players. They are truly using him as a sub, like subbing him in and out mid matches, where Astralis, I don't think ever did that.
No, they never did that. What's going to kill this eventually is your substitute can't continuously or consistently be one of the top performers every time he's on the map, because then there's going to be too much of a push to see what he can do 24/7, and that's where all that pressure gets added. Or teams start throwing oodles of money at you to buy him out to get him onto a team. So I do love the way they're using a 6-man rotation. Unfortunately and fortunately for them, he has been the best player on the server most of the time in those games. And so that sub thing is only going to work for so long when your sub is outperforming most of your starters. Look, I don't know who they would make a change for. I'm not saying they're making a change. I just know that if this continues on, that's going to be the rumbling around that roster, is how do we get him in full time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just natural, right? With positive performance comes pressure from especially the outside.
Yeah.
But, you know, we see it in the NBA. You do have career 6-men, right? You do have the Jets of the world that just are perfectly okay not being on the starting lineup and just being a 6-man. So who knows? If they're winning kind of helps everything, right? Everything.
Thank you for that Jason Terry reference. I appreciate that.
Hey, man. No problem. Any 2011 Mavs fans love that reference. Don't know if any other listeners got it, but I knew you would. I knew you would pick it up. All right, so there you have it there. We have actually a handful of bigger events coming up for Counter-Strike. The Blast Premier Fall Finals are picking up December 8th, so that's going to happen in a couple weeks. We also have DreamHack Masters, NA and EU picking up November 30th.
And that'll actually be Europe with NA involved, I believe.
Well, so do you really want to be even more confused than what we already are about this whole Counter-Strike world that we live in?
Always, I would love to be.
So you have DreamHack Masters Winter 2020 EU with NA teams, a la Furia, Liquid, Evil Geniuses. And I think that is it.
Yeah, and then you have DreamHack Masters Winter 2020 North America MDL. I don't see a pro event going on.
So yes, then you do have a North American version of the event going on with the juggernauts of NA, Chaos, if they're even a team by then, Mythic, if you Twitch sub to them on stream, they'll show up. New England Whalers, who might not be a team by then, Rebirth Esports, Yeah Gaming, Team One, Triumph, and the best logo in the world, Rugrats, who officially has their 5th player as TBD.
And just so y'all know, 90% of those teams were invited to this event.
I mean, oh boy. Do you have to have as an NA fan, just don't do it, right? It almost looks worse having this than not having an NA event at all.
It just looks more dead than it is because of the Furias, the Evil Geniuses, the
Right.
Liquids not being involved. Like it, if somebody is coming in to see us for the first time and they see this and be like, "Oh, okay, yeah," like so there is no Counter-Strike in NA. Like y'all just don't play it. That's not y'all's thing, or like what's going on here?
Are you guys like all Valorant or something? Did
Like,
everyone
everybody went Valorant.
everyone quit? What's going on here? I also learned that for Blast and Flashpoint, we can do a watching party for those. Like they allow you. I mean, you have to ask them, but like they pretty much give anyone permission to do a watching party. So maybe we can do a little COVID-friendly casting couch for the Premier Finals, the Blast Premier Finals, and something coming up for Flashpoint.
Those are this weekend, I believe.
The 8th. Well, Blast is the 8th, which is in...
Isn't Blast Premiere Showdown November 24th to the 29th?
Well, I'm looking at the finals.
Oh, finals. I got you.
Yes.
8th to the 13th. Okay, we can figure that out.
Yep. Yeah, so that's in like 2 weekends from now, so we can definitely figure that out. Maybe get a little watching party, get a casting couch going in here, and just even have some listeners in Discord with us as well. I think that would be exciting and fun for everyone involved. Let's get into some e-news real quick. Very light coming up here with CSGO. It's that time of year again where everyone's reminding you that it's been a year since we've had an operation in CS.
And now, big CSGO insider Norse tweeted out recently that there is Operation 10 was incoming. He actually thought it was coming out about a week and a half to 2 weeks ago, so a little bit off there, but usually his information is fairly reliable. This is supposed to be a major patch from, all sources that are talking about it. They say that it's a very big one. Pray to God that that's true because CS needs it. And look, if it's good enough, like I'm gonna go check it out and go play too. It's just, where is it, Valve? Let's get it soon. So hopefully that's right around the corner.
If they introduce a revamped ranking system with seasons, how fast do you uninstall Valorant?
I don't at this point because now I'm starting to enjoy Valorant quite a bit. So
all right, I'm the same way. I just wanted to make sure. I'm actually.
I have too much invested in skins to walk away.
That's where they get you. You just figured out Riot's
there
secret
is no
weapon.
Market to sell my skins and get that money back.
Yes.
So I am pot committed.
CS, you can spend as much money as you want on skins, but normally you can make that money back. You just pulled back the curtain to reveal there is a man behind the wizard, and it's Riot's get you with their $70 skins that you can't sell back. In Valorant, speaking of Valorant, we already said this though. We are having Moon Raccoon's head coach Raptors on the show next week because, again, reminder, no show on Wednesday. Enjoy your Thanksgiving social distancing from your friends and family, which might actually be the best Thanksgiving you can have. Do it playing video games.
Eat football and video games.
Like with no family involved. That sounds wonderful.
We are doing the parents on both sides. So like there's nobody at those houses except for my parents, but we're going to her parents and then my parents. So it will still be a full day of getting out.
Drive-by Thanksgiving. We're going to the parents to get the food and then we're coming back here. It's a madhouse at ours because they all have kids. I mean, there's like 7 grandkids total.
Yeah, it becomes like a huge thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but looking at other e-news here, we did officially have Perks signing with Cloud9. Those rumors have been flying around and been all but official, but it is official now, and it was actually revealed in a video that they paid upwards to 11 million total. Now, I assume that's involving buyouts and salaries and everything there, but Jesus.
That's insane.
I've never fancied myself to be a League of Legends expert. I don't see how that money comes back. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you can, for a team that doesn't qualify for Worlds, can pay $11 million for someone and see a turnaround. Maybe. I just would be shocked.
It's a cool move though. Excited to see how these pans out for G2 with Reckless and Perks now on Cloud9. It's kind of interesting to see.
I'm starting to get the vibe that NA League though is somewhat like the MLS with soccer, where Europeans are coming over here to finish out their career, getting that
farewell story.
Yeah, they can get that fat paycheck and then go back. And in other light news here, we did have the Smash Summit, which is still going on. Let me refresh so I can get everyone an update. That's right, Smash Summit was allowed to play. Don't understand the logic there, Nintendo, but to each their own, but you did have Zayn. It looks like it did officially wrap up. Zayn ended up defeating Mango in the finals. Looks like 3-2. Mango, look, this is gonna sting for Mango. Played out of his mind in pools play. 12-0. He went 12-0 in pools. Didn't drop a single set. And then he lost to Zayn in the first round of the winter finals, and now he's lost to him again in Grand. The fact that you dominate every single person in this event, but it's literally one guy that you can't get past, that's gonna keep Mango up at night. But hey, congrats to Zayn. And it was nice. It was refreshing to see Smash again. So I will say that. Too bad,
and
Big House.
There it goes again. See you in a little bit.
See ya next year, Smash. It's been fun for one event. 2020 has been real. But there you have it. There's e-news.
Was short.
Again, we've turned the corner. We are in the holiday off season for esports. We see it happen all the time where it's just Thanksgiving hits, and it was for a while there we had ECS, which was here in Arlington every Thanksgiving for whatever reason for 2 years in a row. But now it is what it is. Not bad. We get to have some fun though. We will be back next week. Again, no show for Thanksgiving. Enjoy your holiday. Stay safe. Social distance. If you don't, wear a mask. Wash your hands. And either way, do it smartly. We will be playing some WoW, some Shadowlands. If you are getting into it, hit us up on Twitter @TheCenterRing. Give us a follow on Discord. Let us know if you're playing. We'll love to play. And everything else. Our website, tcr.gg. Just got that back up and going. Redesigned. We have a blog. Going to start posting things there as well. So for Anuj, I'm Tim. And we'll see you next week. Enjoy the turkey.